Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new. Today we are going to be doing the mid-year freakout tag. So if you are new around booktube, this has been a tag for a long time. I don't know how many people still do it anymore, but I think it's really fun. Basically it's just a bunch of questions about like how your reading has gone so far in the year. And before we dive into anything, I have to show you my shirt. Look at this. Having fun isn't hard when you've got a library card. I got it from, what's the shop called? Honeywild, I think? Hold on, let me double check. Honeywild is where I got it from. And it was very reasonably priced, and I love it. Okay, so let's just jump into the tag. I have the questions over here. I will put the questions in the description box, so go ahead and answer them, and answer anyone you want in the, what's that called? Comments. Comment your answers. Let's just jump in. Best book I've read so far. Okay, can I just say, I really hate the new Goodreads update, especially when it comes to like the reading challenge and just trying to like see what books you've read in the year and why doesn't it show you what your rating was. Like obviously I know what I rated books, but sometimes I just want to sort, like just give me the 5 stars. It seems like you can't do that on Fable either. Weird. Okay, let's see. My favorite book so far this year. My first thought is Everything is Tuberculosis by John Green, which is a nonfiction, and How High We Go in the Dark by Sequoia Nagamatsu. So I'll talk about both of them. How about? So Everything is Tuberculosis is about tuberculosis. And basically it just talks about the history of tuberculosis, the state of tuberculosis now, the amount of people who actually still are affected by and killed by tuberculosis. Tuberculosis is curable and treatable, but you have to have the correct treatment, and it can be really difficult to treat because it does kind of, what's that word? Adapt? Adapt isn't the word that I'm thinking of, but tuberculosis itself kind of, adapt isn't quite right. It changes to be resistant to the medication, and so it can be difficult to treat, but it is very treatable. And in most of the Western world, most people don't get tuberculosis, and if they do, they get treated for it right away, and it's usually not an issue. But in a lot of other countries, medication is not as accessible, and a lot of people are still dying from tuberculosis. So I really love that book. I thought that it was so informative and interesting, and I just learned a lot from that book, so I really liked that one. And then How High We Go in the Dark by Sequoia Nagamatsu follows basically a virus that's released from the Arctic ice caps melting. And so you're just following each like chapter, I guess, is a different person's perspective who is being affected by the virus. It starts out mostly affecting children, so there's a lot of really sad stuff there. I thought that it was absolutely beautifully written, and I connected to the characters so much in such a short amount of time because you really are only with each character for the one chapter, and there's like references to previous chapters sometimes and you're like, oh, that was that person. But yeah, I thought that the writing was absolutely beautiful in that one. Best sequel I've read so far in 2025. I haven't read a lot of series, but I think the best sequel, I'm just gonna say all of the Murderbot books that I've read this year, which is 2 through 4, 5. I think that I've read 4, and then I've also read the short story, which is like 20 pages long, so like 4.5. I really like the Murderbot series. Basically, if you don't know, it's pretty popular. It's actually just got made into an Apple TV show, which I don't have Apple TV. We got it just to watch Severance, and then we canceled it after we finished Severance. So I don't know, but I am intrigued by the new Murderbot show. Basically, this follows Murderbot is a robot for killing. Like, they have some organic parts, but mostly it's machine, and the Murderbot that we're following has hacked into its like mainframe, and so it doesn't have to follow like the government controls, and all it wants to do is like watch its favorite TV shows and not talk to other people, and it's like really self-conscious. But then it's kind of the whole series is about Murderbot finding out who they are, what they want from life, what they really care about, and also there's a lot of action. These are little novellas, which makes them really easy to read, but there's an arc in every single book and it wraps up so nicely. It's really well paced. The action is really fun. So I really enjoyed that series and I'm excited to like continue reading in it. The only reason I haven't read more is because I'm literally just waiting for the holds from the library to come off and then I will read them because I am really enjoying them. My favorite reread. Have I reread anything this year? Hold on. Oh wait, I know I have because my first 5-star of the year was To Kill a Mockingbird. So my best reread of the year is To Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee. This follows a young girl named Scout and her father is a lawyer. And this takes place in the 1930s, I believe. And there is a black man in their community who has been accused of rape. And her father is assigned to be his attorney and he is innocent and her father really wants to fight for him. And it's basically, I love this book because it's told through Scout's eyes and she's a young girl. She's like anywhere from 8 to 10. I can't remember her exact age, but she's coming to understand the concepts of racism, but also just the way people act in a small town in particular, but also just in general, how people react to things, how people justify things. And what I absolutely really love in this book is the way that her father, Atticus, parents her and treats her like an adult, not in the sense of like giving her adult responsibilities or expecting her to act like an adult, but speaking to her like an adult, speaking to her like she can understand it and not talking down to her. And I just love that book. It's absolutely fantastic and I look forward to reading it again in the future because it's a great book. Genre I've been loving or reading the most. I think the genre I've read the most this year is sci-fi and I'm really happy with that because I love sci-fi. I'm a sci-fi girly through and through. I feel like I've also been reading a lot of like murder mysteries and that's always a good time. So those are kind of my top genres. I also love fantasy, but I feel like I haven't read as much fantasy. Should we see what my Fable says? Because they give you a little chart. My chart says that I have read 13 sci-fi, 10 literary fiction, 7 fantasy, and 6 thrillers, and 3 classics. Oh, so literary fiction. The problem is like, you can't click on it to see which books they're classifying as that. So I would be curious to know. But yeah, sci-fi. I really love sci-fi. Okay. New release I haven't read yet, but I want to. Probably, I would say My Friends by Frederick Bachman. I have enjoyed all of his books that I've read so far, and that's a new release that came out pretty recently. I think I need to get on hold for it. I don't think I have a hold for it yet. So I just need to put that on hold because I know I will enjoy it. Frederick Bachman does character work so well, and I think it's about a group of friends and an artist maybe. I don't really know that much about it to be honest, but I don't feel like I need to know a lot about it to want to read it because again, I've really enjoyed all of his books that I've read. Most anticipated release for the second half of the year. Ooh. Oh, you know what? The Strength of the Few. Is that what it's called? The second book to The Will of the Many. I feel like The Will of the Many, it got really hyped, which I think is good. It was a really good book. I am going to reread it before I read The Strength of the Few just because like I want to make sure I remember everything correctly and I read it a little while ago. But I did think that it was a really fun book. It follows this guy who is adopted and his new adopted father wants him to be a spy in this academy, basically. But he also has like his own ulterior motives. And I thought that the magic system in it is interesting. It's basically, it's will, like your will to live. People give their will up to the higher, it's a pyramid scheme, like, right? Like all the lower people give their will to this people, it makes them stronger and like more powerful, and then those people give, right? And then you make a pyramid. But I think it's interesting. I think that's a cool concept that I personally haven't read before, I don't think. So that's the first one that popped into my mind. Maybe there's another one. I don't know. I'm so bad at staying on top of new releases. I always want to be like, oh yeah, I'm gonna read this, and then I just forget. I'm not great at staying on top of that. Biggest disappointment. Ooh. The first thing that pops into my mind is A Beautifully Foolish Endeavor by Hank Green. I really enjoyed An Absolutely Remarkable Thing. Actually just talked about this in my last wrap-up, my May reading wrap-up. If you haven't seen that, you can check that out. But I just felt like all of the characters just turned into like whiny brats. And the science part of it was interesting, I guess, but like I wanted to know what was going to happen, so I read the whole thing. But the entire time I was like, I just don't like these people. And I don't think that characters have to be likable to have a good book, right? I think you can have unlikable characters and have a great book. But in this case, like the first book, I felt like they were kind of unlikable, but they felt real. I was like, I can see the real motivations, and I still am like kind of rooting for them. I want to know what's going to happen. In the second book, I was like, these people are just gross and annoying. Biggest surprise. Ooh, okay, I'm gonna have to look at my list of what I've read this year to think about that. Biggest surprise. I guess this could count. Biggest surprise in a negative sense for me was Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir. I gave this book 3.5 stars, but I mean, I can see why people like it. I just couldn't get behind it. I don't know. There was something about it. I think the way the main character acted really got under my skin for some reason. And so that was a surprise for me because I thought I would really love it because it's a sci-fi that everyone loves, and I love sci-fi, and there were redeeming qualities about it, but the ending, his decisions in the ending and the way he acts all wrapped up for me to be like, kind of leave a bad taste in my mouth, if you know what I mean. I was just kind of like, okay, I guess that's how we can end this. I think if there was a different ending, maybe I would have liked it more, but that was definitely a surprise for me because I thought that I would like it a lot. And then we'll do a positive one. We'll do a positive one too. Because I don't want to just be negative Nancy over here. A positive super surprise for me was The Appeal by Janice Hallett. This is a murder mystery, but the murder doesn't happen till like near the end of the book. But what I love about this book is that it's entirely written through like email transcripts. And so basically at the beginning of the book, there's like two like lower level lawyers, and their boss is like, hey, I need you to look through all these transcripts and find like information for me. And so you get some of their text messages like, hey, what do you think about this or this? And then you go through all of these emails and voicemails and text messages, and I just thought it was such a fun layout. I really love mixed media stuff like that where it's a lot of like texting or emails. Another one like that is Several People Are Typing by Kevin Kaluski. I think that's how you say his last name. Is it Kevin or is it Calvin? Hold on, it might be Calvin. Did I read that this year? I did, didn't I? Oh no, I read it at the end of last year. Oh, his name's Calvin. Sorry, Calvin. That's another one. That one is written entirely in... Oh no, I did not mean to do that. Totally just accidentally deleted one of the books out here. Why did it just let me delete that without asking? Because I totally just accidentally slid it. Fable, can you update that please? Put a pop-up. Are you sure you want to delete this? Because I didn't want to delete it. Okay. Wow. I barely remember what I was talking about. Several People Are Typing is written all in Slack messages, so that's also a fun one. But yeah, that was a big surprise. Because I thought it was just going to be kind of like, oh, I mean, I hoped it would be a good murder mystery, but I wasn't expecting this like fun writing style, and I really enjoyed it. Favorite new author, debut or new to you? I'm gonna say John Steinbeck. I read Grapes of Wrath last year, and I loved it. It was my favorite book of the year. I think it's the most beautiful story. It's just so wonderful. And then I read East of Eden a little while ago, and I really enjoyed it as well. I didn't love it as much as The Grapes of Wrath, but I think that John Steinbeck can be solidified as one of my new favorite authors because his writing is just absolutely wonderful, and he's so great at crafting real people. And I also just find that period of time so interesting. It's during the Great Depression. I think is when most of his books are set in. Both The Grapes of Wrath and East of Eden are set during the Great Depression. And I just think that it's such a fascinating time. So yeah, John Steinbeck. Newest favorite character? I don't know. I feel like I used to connect to characters a lot more, and now I don't as much, necessarily. You know what? Let's do this. Hey Mitch from The Hunger Games. I just read Sunrise on the Reaping, and I see him in a totally different light, and I feel like I understand him now. So I'll say he's a new favorite character. Book that made me cry. Sunrise on the Reaping. Definitely came close. I think that if I was able to read Sunrise on the Reaping in one sitting, it would have made me cry. But because I was interrupted so much, just because I'm a mom, it didn't. But if I had read it in one sitting, I would have. And then what's the other one? There was another one I feel like. Okay, I guess maybe there wasn't another one that made me cry. Sunrise on the Reaping is probably going to be the top one. It made me feel a lot of feelings. Book that made me happy. An Immense World by Ed Yong. This is a book that is about animals' senses and how they shape the world around us. It's nonfiction. I thought it was absolutely wonderful. I love learning about all the animals and the really cool science, and I thought that it was super fun. Most beautiful book you've bought so far this year or received. Okay, that's gonna be pretty easy because I haven't bought that many books. Just talked about this, but An Immense World. Look at the monkey, and he's looking at the butterfly. It's so cute. I love this cover. I love the like little light and the dots and stuff. This is a fantastic cover. So, An Immense World. And then I'm also going to say The Sound of a Wild Snail Eating by Elizabeth Tova Bailey. This was one of my favorite books of last year. I need to reread it. My husband bought this for me because he watched my video and heard me say that I want to reread it. And I think this is beautiful. I enjoy the cover a lot, but I also think it's beautiful because I relate to it. It's about a woman who has basically she's backpacking through Europe and like gets a rare, weird disease that no one knows anything about, and it results in her experiencing dysautonomia, which I have, which basically makes your autonomic nervous system malfunction, and she's bedridden. And one of her friends brings her a snail from outside, and it kind of gives her a reason to live a little bit, and she learns a lot about snails and about herself, and it's just kind of about experiencing chronic illness, and also you learn really cool things about snails. So, it's one of my favorite books. What books do you need to read by the end of the year? Let's pull up my list of books I said I was absolutely going to read this year. As far as fiction goes, I still need to read My Friends by Frederick Bachman, which I've already mentioned here, and The Bright Sword by Lev Grossman, which is basically about this guy who wants to be a knight, and he is like heading to Camelot to try and become one of the Knights of the Round Table, and when he gets there, there's like been a huge battle and everyone's dead, and it's like just him and the other kind of like second-rate knights, and they have to figure out what to do, and that sounds really interesting to me. And I've read all of the nonfiction that I said I wanted to this year, but I'll add one that I actually have out from the library right now as an audiobook, and I haven't started it at all, but that is I Contain Multitudes by Ed Yong. I really liked An Immense World, and I Contain Multitudes is about microbiomes. So, that sounds pretty intriguing. Favorite video or post you've done so far this year? I feel like my favorite videos so far this year have been the reading vlogs that I've done. I want to get more into that. I'm actually making one right now, and from when you're watching this, it should be out in a couple of days, so stay tuned for that. The reading vlogs have really been great for me. Okay, last question is favorite book community members. I've always loved Kayla, Books and Lala. I mean, she's like the queen of booktube. I think all of us have to love her, right? Her content is so fun. So I've always loved her, and then recently I have just been binging Carrie Can Read's channel. I've just like watched all of her stuff. She reads a lot of romantasy, which I like do not like at all, but I've also I've put some things on my TBR from her. I haven't read any of them, so I don't know if I'll actually like them or not. So I don't know how much our tastes align, but I just really enjoy the way she talks about books. I think is super fun. And then another creator I recently started watching this year is Sid Bookworm, and I think I also like the way she talks about books, and she does really fun vlogs and has like really cool ideas. And so yeah, those are kind of the first three that pop into my mind. I've enjoyed all of their things. I'll link all of their channels in the description box so you can check them out as well. But yeah, that is all of the questions. Thank you for being here for the Make Your Freak Out tag. Tell me your answers in the comments, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!